everybody back to A Bit About Crypto. I'm David James, the Job Whisperer, and I am here with my co-host, always reliable, always faithful, Dave Hampton, Robo Recruiter. Talk about it.
What's going on?
What's going on with you, man? It's been another week.
Another week.
Happy Sunday, everybody.
Day, another dollar. Yeah, I know. I wish we were playing golf today. That's what I wish.
Yeah, but Travis hates when I talk about the weather, but it's raining. It's raining out there.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's real wet. So, everybody, welcome to A Bit About Crypto. And so, Bit About Crypto is a human interest podcast. The genesis started when we actually repurposed our entire recruiting firm to actually only recruit in the blockchain space. And if you've actually been touched by cryptocurrency or blockchain and its truth and what it's going to be for all people and all humanity and the things that we haven't seen, there's just two kinds of people, those that have been moved by blockchain and crypto and those that will. Those are the only two kinds of people that exist, according to me. That's just how it occurs for me. And I remember saying to you, we have to repurpose our entire firm to blockchain, and we got rid of everything else, and we did it, and we haven't looked back. So to those of you who are listening, our sponsor, who's our sponsor this week, Travis?
Well, it's the one and only blockchainrecruiters.net.
Blockchain Recruiters, they're paying the bills, so they get the plug. So if you are looking for a job in the blockchain, NFT, cryptocurrency space, and you have the attitude, we will find the aptitude for you, all right? And somebody actually sent me an email that they actually look for passion over pedigree. And that really resonated with me. So if that's you, I want to talk to you. And if you're out there and listening, and thank you for listening, the user viewership has really gone up, and you are looking for people for your project, blockchain, crypto. We aggregate them all. What do we aggregate, David? Talk about it.
All the candidates you could possibly need.
That's right. We aggregate everybody on the social, the community managers, the BD people, right? The portfolio managers, the compliance managers, and now art appraisers, right?
Yep.
Art
Technical,
appraisers,
non-technical.
Yeah,
yep.
right. Authenticators, people making sure this is real and this is not, right? We actually have licensing and rights people that people are looking for. And of course, the typical full stack developer, blockchain, wax, whatever you need, we have those. And what separates blockchain recruiters is we aggregate on a massive global schedule, right? And scale. We bring people in, and we put them in our database. We have a lot of resources. Then when we have the needs, we go and we find and we compel those people. If you want to get a hold of me and you want to talk about your blockchain project, I'm at the BTC Recruiter. That's where you'll find me on Twitter. If you want to send your resume, you can send it to Dave, right? Because that's his thing.
Yeah.
Dave.
I'll actually respond.
He will actually respond. Dave at blockchainrecruiters.net. So on behalf of our sponsor, Blockchain Recruiters, thank you very much. So, Dave Hampton.
Yes, sir.
When did you first learn about influencers and influencer marketing, things of that nature?
I guess it was when Instagram came out.
Yeah, for me, it was like 2015.
Yeah,
I said, what do you do? You're an influencer, right? I
don't. That's a good question. I guess to me, an influencer was going back to the days of like Jordan advertising for Hanes, like that kind of thing. Like that's old school influencing, if you ask me. But I don't understand what we're talking about. We're talking about modern day.
Well, with the proliferation of like the mobile phone, right, and all social media, people become their own influencers, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. You have to be Jordan. You have to be an idea, and you just keep repeating it, et cetera, et cetera. And
a following. I think that's really the key, right? Is the following.
Yeah, and to excellent point. It's funny because the way when we were thinking about our podcast, like how we're going to promote it. Right, and it was said to us, well, you could hire an influencer, all right? And so let's say we wanted, like Kanye. Kanye's an influencer. He happens to be a lot of other things, but he's an influencer.
Right.
Hey, Kanye, how much would it cost for you to actually mention a bit about crypto on our podcast? And Kanye would say, hypothetically, I haven't spoken to Kanye. Okay, it'll be $100,000, and I'll talk about a bit about crypto 3 times for 30 seconds, right? How do we know how many of Kanye's people actually heard?
I think that's been an issue. I think it's the measurement of or the metrics of like what that influence actually
and furthermore,
yields.
How would we know how many people actually took a specific action? Like clicked on the link, bought the product, none.
Yeah.
Right? It's all we go, oh my God, Kanye West, X million followers for this much money. And we'd listen and we'd see how many likes we get. And that's about it. right?
Right.
So, like when I say that blockchain is changing everything, right? There is somebody who has actually had an idea, put it to action, right? And and I'm not going to spoil it. I'd probably butcher it, but I'm going to let him talk about it. So today's guest, JD Seraphine, and you are the CEO of Raiinmaker, and everybody, that's Raiin, Raiin, Raiinmaker with 2 I's. JD Seraphine, welcome to Bit About Crypto.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for actually coming.
Yeah. Appreciate
Well,
it.
I happen to be in town, and we made a deal, so I'm a man of my word, and we're here.
Okay, well, we're men of our words too, so we're
Yeah,
looking forward
we
to
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, before we start about you, how was I as far as the narrative? Did I sum it up? I mean, I tried to read.
Well, in terms of the influencer marketing,
Yeah.
stuff, what's interesting is the space that we're exploring is kind of like a new frontier, I would say, where influencer marketing and loyalty rewards meet. I believe there's a new market sector there that hasn't been really properly, not just identified, but really captured by a serious player. And we aim to be that company that really does that. And I think, my thing has always been, how do we change the relationship between fans and community with brands and creators? And that's, right now, if you're a Star Wars fan or you're a fan of a sports team or whatever it might be, you talk about that organically because you're passionate about it and you're creating value for that brand. And right now you're getting nothing for it. And so we believe in the future, using new systems powered by blockchain that will create the infrastructure so that value that's being created in social media through that organic, engagement that's being driven by fans and by community can be properly rewarded. And when you do reward it, what ends up happening is you create this flywheel between, that brand or that company or the project or creator and their community, where the value that's being created is being reciprocated,
Right.
and it just builds and builds and builds.
Right.
And so that's with Raiinmaker. Essentially, we've built the architecture, the infrastructure for that new, fan economy or fan engagement platform.
Well, with blockchain being so new and the NFT space, I'm going to say the awareness of NFT space being so recent, right? Most people didn't go to school to say, hey, I'm going to be an NFT solutionist, right? So the space really, as far as real commerce, is less than 18 months old when you stop and think about it. I mean, real, like the mainstream, the way it is, and everybody, it's all the rave right now, NFTs. So before we talk about your pedigree and your passion over pedigree, if we will, talk about like your formative years, like from birth to like 12th grade. Where'd you grow up? What'd you do?
Well, I mean, there might be a few legal records that would help inform you about my formative years. Well, I just look. I was fortunate. I have great parents. Father is a musician. Very successful musician, as you guys pointed out in your research. He was the founder and drummer for the band Chicago. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Really amazing guy, and just was very fortunate there. And my mom, amazing woman. She does real estate, but really more, she's a powerful, dynamic person. Crystal healer, psychic. So you kind of picked up on some of that too in our pre-show conversation. Wearing crystals that she gave me here around my neck. But yeah, I mean, I was blessed to have 2 great parents that helped to really, shape and really just give me the right, I don't know what the word I would use. I won't say direction, but they were able to give me the right support I needed in the right ways at the right times.
The right lens?
Yeah.
Foundation.
And the right lens. I think, I was a wild teenager, and I grew up in the mountains of Colorado, and I always joke we were like a pack of wolves. We still are. I see those same guys, and it's like, not a day has passed, even though if it's been a year or 2 years. And I was, again, blessed to have a great group of friends, but we were wild. I mean, we did stuff then. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?
You are.
Okay. All right.
You are. I don't swear.
I'll try my best not to.
No.
You don't even have to.
Be you.
Yeah.
Be you.
That's just.
But I mean, we were wild, and we had we did stuff that frankly kids today couldn't do anymore. I don't think, and probably would be in the morning news or all over social media. But that being said, I got through that. I survived thanks to my parents and a trip to boot camp. And
so you got to go to a special school?
I got to the special school.
Miss Gump, you're born in a special school.
That's right. I went to a
Where
special
was this boot camp?
Yeah.
North Idaho.
North Idaho. Okay.
Paris Hilton actually did a stint at the boot camp in one of the boarding schools.
girls?
Not the one she is like suing or causing issue about. But there was another one she went to before that was part of a family of schools that I attended, which actually really helped me to turn some things around in life. It was a good thing. But
well, hold on a second. So you're going like you're a normal kid. You're going to public school, right? Grade school. You're playing soccer at PE with all the other kids. There's nothing different, right? Then do you get? Is it junior highs? High? When do you?
Well, I think
start cutting your own
I
scene.
mean, I think even in elementary school. I mean, I probably shouldn't share this publicly,
no.
but I got kicked out of Dare in 5th grade for drinking at school. I mean, that's me and a group of kids. I mean, that's how wild we were.
You just couldn't take the challenge.
Whoa.
You couldn't say no. That's Dare.
I felt looking back, I kind of feel bad for the Dare officer because he was crying and he was like really hurt. Like, how did I fail these kids? And I was looking at him like, you never had a prayer. Like when we were reading this book, it was almost like a challenge to us. Like, you're not supposed to do this, and anything that we weren't supposed to do, we wanted to do, and that was just our nature back then. You know,
like wet paint. It's like how wet.
I think I've always had that rebel spirit. I think just to bring it full circle to where I am now, and I think, you know, some of the people that are to transform the world in the biggest way are people that are rebels, that have that renegade entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately, you know, as a species, actually how we get out of this mess that we're in. And I think blockchain and crypto, you know, what's beautiful to me about it, and as I look around the space and I see the other founders and other leaders in the space, everyone kind of has this spirit, like, you know, we're not going to wait for somebody to give us permission to do something. Like, we're just going to go do it because, frankly, as a species and on this planet, we don't have time for that.
We can't afford it. We can't afford to wait around. I mean, you got to. What Michael Jackson said it right. You know, you got to be the change you want to see in the world, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
As in Tito, Jermaine, that Michael Jackson.
Is there any other Michael Jackson you know?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not talking about the NBA player or the football player.
or the host. All right, well, Michael Jackson's kind of go to the phone book. Anyhow, we digress on a digression. Anyhow, so when you're like about the time of,
you know, they also do that line in Lego Batman too. In the intro to Lego Batman, and it's pretty funny.
I mean, look, I'm not condoning or endorsing anything that he was accused of per se.
Whoa.
No, but let's go to Lego Batman. Let's go away from that. Because my ex-wife says I'm kind of like Lego Batman. So if people want to understand what I'm like now, think of how Lego Batman was, and you're kind of getting the range of me today.
So yeah, I just got to speak to this. So, you know, I've had a very circuitous life, right? And it wasn't like with achievement awards. It's a lot of self-reflection, and I put myself in compromising situations, right? But I've ascended from that. And so when you speak of some of those things, just on a very general level, it speaks to me, right? Because I believe character, right, and wisdom is built in the bottom, in the dark, in the cold, in the valley, not at the mountaintop with the glory. So I mean,
kind of like the real Batman.
I don't know how deep. I don't want to put you on.
No, but
blast.
let's go there. I mean, I'm all about going to the deepest, darkest places, because that's honestly where I believe that a lot of my character was formed, is through the adversity. I kind of say sometimes, like, you know, I was hardened by the fires of hell, and I say that not as like a joke. I say that because I've been through a lot of shit in my life. Stuff when I was a kid, stuff as an adult, and all of that has helped me as an entrepreneur and as a man,
right,
you know, to be ready to step up to the mantle of what I'm here to do now, you know, as a leader. And not just with Raiinmaker and a business or Vision Tree and the movies and the TV stuff. All of it is important, but even just as a human being, to be present and to carry a certain frequency and to carry a certain way of living, like each moment, I think that's formed through life experience. And so
let's talk about the moment of clarity, and you're welcome to go as deep as you want. So where did the moment and for me, my moment of clarity was, I went to a party when I was 13 and I came home when I was 43. That's for me. Okay. And at 43, I realized that there had to be a drastic change because I couldn't get a resistance to mace. All right. Just in a very general way. So where was the,
well, what's interesting, and I talk about this publicly with people all the time, is I've been sober for over 5 years. And not that I had a huge drinking problem. There's moments in my life where, you know, I dabbled with various things with marijuana, and marijuana was probably my drug of choice when I was not sober. Definitely was. But about 5 years ago, I had a spiritual experience, and without getting into every detail.
No, in a general way.
Yeah.
Well, in a general way, I was in the mountains of Yosemite, and I was laying there, and I was feeling the sun on my skin, and I was laying in a lake called Lake Tenaya, which is about 10,000 feet. My kids are playing on the beach, And it was normally a day where I might have snuck off in the bushes and had a little token, especially in California. That's pretty normal. And I had already been kind of transitioning, and I was like, I'm just going to be present. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I was looking at the mountains, and I felt like I literally became one with the earth is the only way I could describe it. And I had the most intense natural high come over me, like almost more intense than I ever felt on any drug. And I've tried, almost every drug on the planet, and more intense than anything like that. But I was completely lucid and sober in my mind. And I heard a voice came into my head, and it said, "You've been blocking your ability to experience your whole life. You've been blocking your ability to experience heaven on earth." And that was the turning point for me, because I realized at that moment I had like a fear that was kind of sitting inside of me. It was like, am I going to reach my potential as a human being? Because like you, I was, I'd partied a ton. I had a great life, and I had phases where I didn't party. I was a young father.
But you said the word fear. This short word, fear.
Yeah, well, there
should be classed with stealing, right?
Well, honestly, in this case though, the fear was warranted, because I had squandered so much time in my life that it was like, if I was going to do what I came here to do, like I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if in that moment I didn't make a clear decision that I was going to, everything that wasn't serving me reaching my potential, I was going to let it go so that I could give myself a chance to actually reach that potential.
So you said 5 years ago. So what do you?
Well, 5.5.
So what are you like 35?
I'm 40 now.
Yeah, 35.
So I was 35 then. Yeah,
when it happened. So,
yeah.
Okay, 35.
Yeah.
Okay, and so tell me about the contradiction in behavior. Okay, so you clearly got up from laying down and you took action. Or inaction.
Well, I think there was a commitment around, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to stop drinking forever or doing drugs. And I wasn't like that big of a drinker, but when I always joke when I drank a lot. You know?
Yeah.
I love my bourbon.
Actually, I do know.
Yeah.
So and I had plenty of good times with friends and whatnot. But when I made the commitment that I was going to give myself a chance to reach that potential, I mean, everything in my life opened up. I mean, we've got, the biggest movie that we had ever gotten basically fell in our lap. And
Which was? Do you mind saying?
was Atari.
Okay.
The movie with
the Leonardo.
with Leo.
we're producing with Leonardo DiCaprio and Appian Way and his production company. And I mean, that was and it was, a series of things after that, that almost like when you look back on it, it seems like destiny. And so,
Or you look back and you say, "There's no way I could have done that by myself."
oh, I didn't do it by myself.
But
Yeah.
the actual awareness that there's no way.
Oh, and I'm aware in the present moment, like everything that I do. Well, everything that I do, like I think my greatest strength is that I operate from a place of no ego and complete humility, knowing that I'm not really the one that is creating any of this. That I'm just here to serve, something greater than myself. And coming from that place, piece one, piece two, being able to take adversity and turn it into opportunity, those two things make me unstoppable. Because once you do that, once you surrender your ego and you say, I'm here to serve something greater than myself,
Yeah.
Yep.
and whatever adversity comes to me, I'm going to transform it into opportunity, or I'm going to turn it into my advantage or strength.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you be stopped then? And that's, I think, when I stay in alignment with that, and it's a beautiful thing. Like when you find that place, I've been able to stay in it largely because I'm sober. I've been able to pretty much stay in that space, in alignment with that for, most of the last 5 years. And out of that, I've created a tremendous amount of success in my career and in my personal life. But ultimately it's still coming from a place of looking at, okay, we have a finite amount of time as a species to make an evolutionary leap. We really have, like, some people think we have 15 to 20 years. I think we have 7 to 10 to really start to turn like hard before this thing turns into like Mad Max, dystopian.
But
like,
I want to just dial it back slightly.
Yeah.
The lucidity, right, of not going, because what happens is I'm going to speak for me, like when I found it necessary to remove all forms of intoxicants out of my life, right? Potions, lotions, powders, and pills, everything, right? You shared with me, I'll share with you, I've been sober since April Fool's Day, 2007. And that's just the day the wheels came off, right? That's just where the plane crash landed, on that date. The thing about it is they say when you first get sober, you'll feel better, right? But yeah, you'll feel better. You'll feel pain better. You'll feel hysteria better. You'll feel those things. But with lucidity, you can actually come to a reckoning of what those things are and push through them as opposed to a form of anesthetization. But for me, I found then I was going to things that were very like gossip, right? Stupid politics, sugar. I mean, I had to actually, and I'm still fighting those battles a little way. I got to catch myself. And it's when we're actually saying, no, we got to go within or we go without kind of thing. And that's what I actually just heard you say. Go within or you're going to go without. That sums that up. Do you find that experience same for you?
I think it's the same. And I think that it's interesting because even in this moment, like the brain and the ego will try to come in and like take control, right? And like want to control the situation. And I think the more like where I feel the most at peace and the most in power is when I'm able to quiet the mind and just, again, allow spirit or God or Allah or whatever name you want to give it, frankly, work through me. And I it's funny. I used to kind of like laugh about the football players that would always be like, praising God.
Yeah,
I'd be like, oh, come on.
Yeah,
man.
God help you score that touchdown.
Because I'm not a religious guy. I'm more spiritual.
Yeah.
But as you get older and you realize like, okay, well, there's a lot of truth to that.
Right.
Because when you're operating from that place, that's really actually when you are the most unstoppable. And so it's interesting. I guess you could say to go within or go without. I haven't heard it phrased like that, but that's a good way to.
That's just how it occurred for me as you were talking about it. But let's go 5 years ago. Let's talk about pretty much because 5 years ago it's going to get us to crypto, it's going to get us to blockchain, it's going to get us to Raiinmaker. So what started happening? What started removing, and what started taking its place? And just however you want to.
Well, I think I had already kind of been transitioning in terms of just not partying, but I reached a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to commit to do, to basically just show up each moment, be the best version of myself, and do it without anything polluting my consciousness, drugs, alcohol, whatever. So really it just started, the main focus was the business and building Vision Tree, which is the parent company. We got Atari, like I said.
Vision Tree with 2 eyes for you guys looking it up. You're welcome.
Well, there's 2 eyes in vision.
That's correct.
Yes,
I just said that.
That's right. Vision Tree. And so that's my main passion is to make as much impact in the world as I can through media and technology. And that's always been there on some level, but it's almost like I would equate it as like somebody who's trying to run a race with their shoes tied together. Like I finally untied my shoes from each other and tied them properly and said, okay, now let me see if I can run this race. And obviously, once I got my legs under me, I started moving faster and faster. And so, it's interesting we talk about Atari because that's kind of the project that was the catalyst to me coming into the crypto space. My first contact with crypto was actually in 2012. So I did a documentary called Sirius, like the star, Sirius. And it was the most successful crowdfund for a feature documentary in history at the time. It's only been broken, I think. The record's only been broken by the sequels to it that have been run by the same partner, Dr. Stephen Greer. And the coolest part wasn't that, but the cooler part was we put it out. It was actually an extraterrestrial conspiracy documentary. So it was kind of a crazy journey down a rabbit hole. Like I've always been someone who's open to like political conspiracy and 9/11 and other stuff.
We're open to that, aren't we, David?
I would say so.
Continue.
Well, and so I'm open to that, but the it's funny is I wasn't really huge into the ET thing, and I just we were actually trying to do a scripted project at the time, and a partner of mine was having dinner with Dr. Greer, and was because we were kind of wooing him to like be a consultant on the film. And he started telling all these crazy stories, and then it's like, well, wait, shouldn't we make a movie about you? They've been trying. Fast forward, we make the documentary. But in that, we crowdfunded the whole thing. The cooler part was 11 months later, we released it subtitled in 17 languages in our own, basically self-distribution online, what they would call transactional VOD, direct to consumer. Right. And we did over $1 million in sales. And that's basically 100% driven by the community. So the reason that this is informing it is that was where I saw the model. I was like, wait, when you can harness the power of the crowd, as some people call it, there's this potential to like see this explosive performance in terms of how things do in the market, especially in a world that's basically digital at this point. And so flash forward to Atari, we acquired the project.
Hold on a second, just for our listeners.
Okay.
Clarify Atari, because
So there's Atari, the company,
That's
which is
right.
a publicly traded French-owned publicly traded company that was founded by Nolan Bushnell. Nolan Bushnell, who's, hopefully once we make our movie, eventually he'll be in the pantheon of tech icons because that's where he belongs. Founder of Atari, founder of Chuck E. Cheese. Atari was basically where Steve Jobs and Wozniak got the parts for the first Apple computers. They were both engineers at Atari, which a lot of people don't know.
I didn't know that.
They were working at a project inside of Atari when Warner Brothers came in and shut it down, where it would have been the first commercial version of the internet. It was a system where people could play Atari video games over telephone lines. This is pre-internet.
Wow.
So Nolan was like, he had created this innovative environment in space for people to create, and there was amazing things that were being created inside of Atari. Now, he sold a controlling share to Warner Brothers because he was competing against Midway and Bally, the same gaming companies that had basically told him there's no kids. They literally said no kids can ever play video games. That's what they told him. We all know obviously how that story ended.
Yeah, no, they were really accurate with that.
Well, and they started stealing from him, which is the way the big guys do it. And he basically felt like to compete, he needed big capital, so he took Warner Brothers money, and ultimately it was kind of it was the undoing of Atari as we know it. It's never really been the same. It's a publicly traded company now, but we acquired from Paramount the rights to the Nolan Bushnell Atari movie, which is his story. It's Silicon Valley, 1970s Wolf of Wall Street meets The Social Network,
Nice.
with big budget, big cast, and so that's why it's frankly taking longer.
For the audiences, I wanted to be clear. Our guest JD's talking about producing a movie about Atari.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
When you kept saying Atari,
Not Atari, the current brand, or Atari Token,
Yeah,
which
it's
they're
really-
all
Right.
their own things, which is good. We have something very specific and unique, and it's funny. Nolan is here in Vegas right now. He's actually speaking probably about right as we speak at the conference I was speaking
Coin
at,
Agenda?
at Coin Agenda,
Yeah.
global. So. And I just saw him in the casino. We ran into each other. He was wearing glowing shoes, and he's just one of those people. Like, he would come in the room and he would see you twirling your pen, and he would look at the phone and he would be like, there should be this thing. Like, he has that.
like a savant.
Well, he's got that creative entrepreneurial spirit. And I think, again, coming full circle to what I'm about, like, I believe as a species, the way that we get out of the mess that we've put ourselves in is by becoming like Nolan Bushnell, to be that renegade entrepreneur, to basically look around us in our environment, look at the people, look at the things, and come up with the solutions that we need to create on the ground to solve the problems that we're facing and that are going to continue to mount, that we're going to face. So that's why I'm excited to tell Atari, tell the story of Atari, or Nolan's story. It's really about Nolan.
So basically, it's kind of like, think about the genesis of Atari and the iterations that it went through, et cetera, the way the Social Network did or the Wolf of Wall Street did. I mean,
well, yeah, it starts from Nolan's early years, being a kid in Utah, growing up in a very rural upbringing, but having this fascination with science and computers, and not computers, but he was able to get access to the early computers at University of Utah. Like, Nolan's story is just by itself is an amazing story, but I think the underneath part of it, there's an archetype. Just like you have Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey, I believe that Nolan represents an archetype in the modern world of that renegade entrepreneur. And I believe that, to me, is the thing that is the most important. And again, the details, because in the era that we're in, like, you have to have something exceptional for a project to stand out.
That's right.
And so the thing that's exceptional to me about it is, again, that's transcendent, is that renegade entrepreneur spirit. I believe that that's alive and well, because not just because of Nolan, but because of Jobs, because of Gates, because of, a million other people that people have never heard of, that have been innovators on the front lines, that have created cool, inventions, have helped to co-create the culture around Silicon Valley, which now is spread across the world, which is that the old way of doing business isn't the way we have to follow. We can do things differently. And I think that we have to. I think we have to think like, we have to be like Nolan Bushnell in order to get out of the situation.
So talk about some of the above the line talent and who's in it when you see it.
Well, we're still casting and figuring all that out. And so that stuff.
You guys have
we'll
a
get
director? Is that
Well, we have a guy we were working with before, and it's
the deal is not inked, so that's gonna have to be another podcast.
That will be another. I'll come back for that one. But our hope is that we end up filming it sometime in the next 1 to 2 years. Post pandemic is a tricky thing. Like, movies. Like, I think Dune just did 40 million this last weekend. But the Ridley Scott the weekend before it got panned, and it was a great film with great cast, great reviews, and it did $4 million.
Right.
So I mean, we're in this kind of weird space
It's
where
a no man's land kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I think it'll come back, and I think it'll be, I think our project could help to show a path for how movies can be released again in theaters and how movies can, perform again in a challenging environment. But yeah, we'll come back on the Atari thing. But to tie back to the crypto,
yeah.
So basically, I was sitting at my family has a restaurant in Malibu called the Raiin, which is a seafood place and the freshest seafood in Los Angeles. If you guys want to check it out,
up the street from Gladstone's, right?
It's right up the street from Gladstone's. Yeah, much better. Gladstone's.
Well, I know. Look,
Gladstone's is dog shit.
Hold on a second. Full disclosure.
Yeah, come on. What do you think?
I was just using a geographic topical remark. People know it because they see it there.
Just making sure.
Gladstone's would have been gone if it didn't have that location.
How does it pay for that location?
Is fine. I've actually never been to Gladstone's because we have the Raiin, but the Raiin is. but the Raiin. So
I'm not going to say the word. Yeah.
I'm sitting at the Raiin, and I'm with Gregory Markel, who's one of my mentors and a really good friend, and he's somebody who's been one of the leaders on the forefront of digital marketing, kind of in every way, like SEO and social. Like he's got a boutique agency. He worked with Tom Cruise for a long time. Amazing guy. And he's really like a fixture in that West Side entertainment technology, marketing community in LA. And he's asking me because he knows Nolan well, and because Nolan and him are both members of a community called Metal, which is Media Entertainment Technology Alpha Leaders, which is run by Ken Rutkowski. It's a great group. I've had a chance to be a part of meetings and stuff and meet a lot of great people and learn. So Greg being a Metal member, Nolan being a Metal member, we're sitting at dinner, and he's like, well, what are you doing with Atari? What are your thoughts? And I said, well, at that time, I was exploring equity crowdfunding because we had done Sirius, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll use equity crowdfunding because I've been eyeing it like everyone because we were in that early wave of crowdfunding innovation. We saw the Jobs Act pass, and then we watched as the U.S. government does what it's really good at doing right now, which is basically just drag shit out for years and squeeze the every piece of creative, innovative life out of it while it gets over legislated by a bunch of people who don't create anything
or don't understand it.
No, don't understand it. Don't create anything. They sit there and like want to justify their existence. I mean, to be honest, like the foundation of this country is founded on the principles are beautiful. And democracy is more important than ever. I think there's a rise in authoritarianism that's, people are not paying attention to closely enough.
Happiness, right? I mean, it's in our preamble. I mean, for God's sake.
There's nobody in this
by our creator, endowed by our creator.
Nobody in the population and present company that's not paying attention to that because we're acutely aware of the things we're talking about. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah, well, I think that's so we were there in the early wave of crowdfunding. We were waiting for equity crowdfunding to kind of turn the corner. It still, like, frankly, hasn't reached anywhere near its potential because of the fact that they stymied the forward movement of the momentum, And so I was looking at it. Greg's like,
and it's political now. They can decide this cause no good, and they can cancel you.
Yeah,
in crowdfunding.
They're trying to do it with Dave Chappelle, right?
Well, I think look, we're in a weird moment because it's like a pendulum that swings. I think for a long time there was a lot of marginalized groups that were treated unfairly by the world and by culture at large. So I think that the pendulum has swung now and maybe to an extreme, and I think it'll come back to a balance. So I don't, I think it's part and parcel because of that. Like there's all this stored up energy of people that didn't have a voice, and now they have so much voice that
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
that's such a great way to put it. I'm gonna use that.
You can use it all. Take it all.
I'm gonna make it
because
I'm gonna make an NFT and sell it back to you.
I might buy it because I definitely been scammed more than a couple times.
There'll be no scam. It'll be no scam. I mean, all I do is take Wait.
Why am I not surprised that you would actually propose that? He'll actually do that.
I'm appalled that you would say that I'm about to do what I'm about to do. But what I'll do is I will take from you the wisdom you already have and sell it back to you as wisdom from me.
And that's priceless.
But if I can resell it for a decent price, then I think that's a fair deal.
Yeah,
we'll crowdfund it.
Yeah, we'll crowdfund it.
Anyhow, this is great. So let's make sure I could go for hours with you, dude.
Well, we can't go for hours, but so I'll get to it. So crowdfunding, he said, what about have you thought about doing an ICO to fund the movie? And this is right at the very beginning of the ICO boom. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is an ICO? And I Googled it, and it's the day that the CEO of Mozilla had raised $30 million in 30 seconds. That day, and I'm like, this is crowdfunding on steroids. And literally that moment, and Gregory Markell gets all the credit. I mean, that took me down the rabbit hole. And so as I went down, I mean, once you come into this space, you realize it has like an energy and a life of its own.
Indeed.
Like it's not even, and I realized right away, I've been in entertainment for many years, and I felt immediately the moment that I was like at my first conference, I was like, this is my tribe. Like I just knew it, like on a spiritual, psychic level. I knew, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Like like all the years in the entertainment business, I never really felt like it was my place. I immediately felt like this was my place.
I want to interject one thing. We were speaking to a wonderful guy. I'm going to give him a shout now, right? Haas Terry, right? And he actually has BLK Love and Love Token, right?
Yeah.
Non-for-profit, right? Trying to feed the people in the pandemic and feed souls. He made a brilliant point I never thought about. It's like crypto. It's very, very complicated to understand at first. It's just you just don't get it into the 5-minute elevator talk. And he said that because it's from spirit and it's from God, it's supposed to be complicated, and you are only able to receive it when you actually have the openness to actually say, hey, this is that thing. I'm butchering the way he said it. Remember how we talked about
consciousness is that it's the consciousness that just kind of comes into you.
And if it wasn't complicated at first, then it would be for everybody. It wouldn't have the potency of how special it is. So,
well, I think that you say consciousness, I always think everything is just frequency, right?
Vibration.
Vibrating energy, right? We're all vibrating energy. This table, the microphone, it's all just frequency. And it's funny because my partner, who's a lot more hands-on in terms of crypto trading and whatnot, like he often describes how he feels like how blockchain and feels alive in some way. Like it almost like there is some sort of intelligence coursing through it. I've heard other people say that. But I just felt like it was my place in terms of a community when I came in. And then I saw, once I also came in, that there was, the potential for this technology is on a fundamental level to power a lot of the systems that are going to be required in what me and other people are calling the solution revolution, which is basically humanity rising up and using technology to solve all the global issues that we're facing and that we will continue to face. And so that when I saw that, and given my passion for just serving that higher purpose, I was like, okay, well, this is how do I start getting that story out? So we started producing a couple documentary series, one called Open Source Money, that came out season 1 on Discovery Science last year. We're working out a second run for it. Season 2 is in production right now. We just filmed in Dubai, filmed with CZ, who's as you guys know, from Binance, and we've got a bunch of amazing crypto guys lined up. Season 1 featured.
You got CZ?
We got CZ. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Most people, think. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to lock him down.
Yeah. I spent about an hour with him. Really amazing guy. Very much also focused on impact. And so,
so can you tell him to clear my account? Because I've been waiting in compliance for like 7 months.
I think you're American, so that might be a problem trying to get on Binance.com.
Hey, easy. That account's not open as an American.
But I know. Let's get it. What I saw. So season 1 was about Joe. We followed Joe Roats, who's a great fan. He's also the CTO of Raiinmaker. We followed him as he was basically battling the SEC for almost 3 years. And they made him spend millions of dollars in legal fees. And as the CEO, he was spending, 60, 70, 80% of his time, basically like litigating, just to stay alive. And they never did anything at the end. They kind of just like...
They just papered him to death.
Well,
right?
they just kind of like slid back into the shadows. And so, now with the Ripple thing, Coinbase is now going to battle with these guys. Like we're going to pick up the mantle in season 2 because this is a real problem. The problem is that we're at a critical moment where China is already racing ahead with the BSN and DCEP. They're not messing around. Like they're a centralized, powerful government with every resource at its disposal.
Yeah.
The only counterbalance on this planet is free entrepreneurs in the free world who are innovating. It is the only counterbalance to China right now. The U.S. government does not have its stuff together, is not prepared to meet them out in the open field. As much as they might fancy in their minds that they think they want to, they're not ready.
No, they don't want to.
And frankly, like that's not what we're made. That's not what we're made of. What makes America special, and not just America, but the free world, those who subscribe to the belief that we should govern ourselves,
Right.
that democratic principle. What makes us special is that innovative and free spirit. That's why people, even from China, would prefer to be on a blockchain network that was created by entrepreneurs in the free world rather than the one that's being controlled by their centralized government. And that's not to say their government's bad. They believe that it is the correct thing to do. We obviously share a different viewpoint, and there's a space in the world for them both to exist. But if the U.S. government thinks it's going to start to further threaten, rather, it already has. But if it's going to
bully,
if they're going to further threaten and bully, entrepreneurs, at this point, 19 of the 20 major blockchain protocols are no longer hailing from the U.S. There's only one, which is XRP, which the SEC is currently attacking. So what does that tell you about the future of America
Vibration.
as a global leader?
We need to raise our vibration.
Yeah, we need to raise our vibration.
From our listeners, you use BSEN and DCEP. I think I know what they are, right? You're
Well,
talking about
BSN is Blockchain Services Network, and DCEP is Digital Currency Electronic Payment. So China has created its own native
Digital currency.
and they got their CBDC, right, for the digital yuan.
I mean, it's a CBDC to the highest order. I mean, it's completely centralized as centralized can be, but it's leveraging,
Oh, you've got parking tickets. You only get 80%.
Right.
Well, or whatever it is, or hey, you spoke out against the Chinese Communist Party. Milk is twice as expensive for you. Will they do that or no? They have the power to do it. Is the thing that for us in a place like this, we obviously don't.
Yeah.
And look, if you go to some places, some people are okay with that, and that's not to say they are right or wrong. All I'm saying is that there needs to be a balance in the order of things. In order for there to be a balance, those entrepreneurs from the free world need to be free to innovate and create. Now, of course, bad actors, chase them down, deal with them. I mean, there are laws to deal with it without playing the political games that are being played because powerful forces might be influencing certain regulators or certain people, to take action in a certain manner because their interests are threatened by what's happening. And I think we're at a critical moment. Like the next 1,000 years of financial systems, money systems of the world are being created as we speak.
Yep.
So what is that going to look like, and what place will the free world and the United States and entrepreneurs that hail from here have to play in it? That's still a question that hasn't been answered yet.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's all I got to say is wow. I mean, we came over to talk about a social media app, and it's like he drops all this knowledge on us. It's like, who is this dude? I mean, you burn bright. You know this, right? I mean,
well, I'm passionate about it. I spent a lot of time looking at it.
You burn bright.
Thank you, brother.
You burn really, really bright. And I don't know everybody's ready to receive you, right? And so I'm really grateful I had the opportunity to have you speak so authentically today.
Yeah, I don't think everybody's ready. I think many people are not ready to receive me, but that's right. Whether they like it or not, here I come.
Yeah, but I am going to. I watch the way you carry yourself and just our limited knowings and and so kudos to you on your walk. Do you want to talk about Raiinmaker?
We could talk about Raiinmaker. I mean,
it's up to you.
Well, I think just to go finish the open source money thought. I mean, I think that ultimately. So what we did with Atari is we that's what brought me in was Atari, rather, to look how we can finance a movie with blockchain and with crypto. But I wanted the other piece, which is how can I make it so Atari fans or the video gamers around the world, there's 3 billion of them, how can I get them aligned with the movie? And so Raiinmaker is the system that essentially was born out of that vision that we first saw with Sirius was how do you take a community, you align their interests, and it's kind of like free market capitalism 101, right? Like how do you align interests? How do you align everyone's incentive? And how do you use technology to do it in a manner that really just takes it to the next level? So Raiinmaker is that fan social engagement platform that takes brands and creators and unites them with fans and community in a whole new way, where all of that value that's being created through their social engagement that's happening on our platform, they're being rewarded, proportionally, fairly, democratically, transparently, for that. And further, I think, we created a layer 2 consensus algorithm essentially called proof of influence that tracks all of that social action on those, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter.
Proof of stake, proof of work. Is proof of influence like your ideation, your brainchild?
Yeah, I think I heard of someone else who was using it in a different way, but it's our brainchild in terms of social media application or application, I guess, or whatever.
Do you guys reach out to like certain companies like like the Mavs, for instance. Just I'm a Mavs fan, so I'm just as an example. Would you reach out to Mark Cuban and say, hey, would you be on a platform and figure out a way to engage your community? Is that something you guys are doing, or?
Yeah, so there's one NFL team that we're confidentially talking to. We haven't talked to any NBA teams. And there are some other fan token platforms out there, and I think that are doing some good things. Again, I think we're focused in a very unique way around, especially because not just the fan engagement piece. We are looking to work with sports teams, entertainment companies,
right.
Projects. Obviously, we have our own. We did open source money. The first run on Discovery Science was the beta run of Raiinmaker, and it ran. It helped to power the marketing. We were in the top 150 in the ratings for our whole run. So that was the first launch. The next launch we just did for Raiinmaker was around the public launch of the app. We did a charity initiative called #Global Field Day, where we had 15 athletes, celebrities, and influencers all promoting these social media challenges. And then the money that we're basically raising was for 3 main charities that are supporting youth empowerment, climate change, and entrepreneurship. So World Youth Horizons, a Global Entrepreneurship Network, and Laudato Tree. Laudato Tree, run by 17-year-old Vivian Har, who's basically been endorsed by the Pope, and she's planting 7 million trees across the Great Green Wall of Africa.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I'm about, and that's what Raiinmaker, every campaign, and on the network level as well, there's always a piece that's going to go to impact or go to charities that are doing, good in the world, because we're at a moment where we have to. Like, we don't really have the luxury of, it's kind of like where I was at, going full circle in this conversation to laying in that lake, and where I felt like I really became aligned with, you could say I became one with the earth, but I probably more or less became aligned with my own spirit for the first time. And in that, in that moment, I realized, there was no more time to waste. And I think we're at that moment, or we're coming to that moment as a species collectively. We can talk about American, Chinese, doesn't matter. Like, there's one race on planet Earth, the human race.
That's correct.
And we have to face all these challenges together, whether we like it or not. And I think the only way that we can, do that is by, coming into alignment and making that leap. So,
well, again, I just want to ask you. So, just you're touching on you've tuned into something, right? From on high, and just you've channeled something for this whole chat. I think we opened it up with how we got free, and then it's like it opened it up. How do you see blockchain changing the job market and the workforce?
Well, it's interesting. Is like, I think the whole concept of job is like dying. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like
I do.
how we understand it, because it's not about
clocking in,
clocking out. It's about shared ownership, right? Like, the new world is power with, not power over. And I mean, I do my best to embody it. I'm not perfect at all, but power with, not power over. You can NFT that one. But
do you want to be the first bidder?
No, I'll buy it and just give it away. So
this guy.
Well, but I think that in the job world or the I believe that everybody has this divine spark inside of them, that they're waiting for the opportunity to be empowered to express. And that's the thing. I was talking on a panel earlier about NFTs. The thing that excites me about what I see with NFTs, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's a little scary with the JPEGs and everything else. But what I like is that there's this creative spirit that's being unlocked with a new market that and this new wave that only crypto and blockchain would have empowered, because the legacy money system didn't reward these people. You have all these creative people that are on Photoshop creating some of the most amazing digital art, or 3D art, like creating art that just would blow you away, but there was no market for it. There was nobody saying, hey, you know what?
Not only was there no market, there's no agency, as in, hey, this is yours. And, talk about a reward to so many levels. So many levels.
But that's where when you talk about job, I'm like, well, look, I think that we're going into like the post-job world. Like, we're all going to have to be renegade entrepreneurs like Nolan Bushnell. Now we can band together in bands and groups and work together in companies. But like, even in our company, like, I try my best to like maintain like almost like a flat model to an extent, because you want people feeling like they have ownership,
right?
And I think
they can say, and they have a say and they have a voice, because it's like servant leadership, right? And I'm not talking about that as a myth or as like just some cool ideology. Servant leadership, right? So basically, hey, how do I, as the leader, serve all my workers to be the maximum?
Gary Vayner says that. He says, make no mistake, you as a CEO, your people don't work for you. You work for them.
That's right.
In order to help them, empower everything else going on. It's really it's a reverse. If any CEO ever thought that they work for you, you've had it wrong the entire time. Is what he always. I mean, for what it's worth. So.
Oh, he's right.
Right?
Yeah,
and
I believe him too. I mean, I believe it. It's about like if everyone feels like they're a part of it, then everyone's all in. It's for a common goal. It's for a common cause, right?
And also, we champion the underdog. I mean, everybody except me and David is marginalized in some way. In our firm, we're talking like our gals in the Philippines. We only hire women in India because the men. There's this caste system. Like the women are subordinate to the men there. So we're going to take the women and we're going to empower them, right? And yeah, so basically we don't hire men from India. And so I guess you could call it reverse racism or sexism, but it's just a choice we've made because we're just empowering these people up so they can empower others as well.
So what are you hiring them to do? I'm curious.
There's this Raiinmaker app, and what we have. So
That'd be good for that. We'll take it.
It's funny you say that. So our gals in the Philippines, what they do is they just scrub websites, LinkedIn, resumes, places like that, and they put them in the database, and they find the phone numbers and emails so we can get them. Then the gals in India, they're so smart and they got degrees and they're still like really looked down upon as their worth. They're the ones that actually do the initial scrub on what are your capabilities, what's important to you, what do you want. So then we actually have this cadre of people. Then when someone gives us a search, they say we need these kinds of folks. Then we actually have a close knit here where we are in the United States. We talk to them, and then they file them up to me and David. Because the one thing that's really important is in when you're dealing with, I'm going to say this, and I don't mean it to be, when you're talking about capital that happens to be human, right? There's so many dynamics that aren't actually certain. It's nuanced, right? So we want to be able to tell how, as vibrations are changing with people by the moment, like I need this job. No, I've got 3 other offers. That changes. We can actually speak to the stakeholders in case the hiring authority, we can say this is what we have. So we've got this big machine, right, that's working up for us for a force of good. It helped. We maintain a constant vibration to make a better world vibration. I mean, I believe that. You just helped me with the language.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think that we're in a moment where it's all about empowering, like you said, the underdog. And I've always had a little bit of that underdog mentality in me. So
I wasn't always this tall.
Yeah.
I wasn't always this confident, right? And I was picked on. I was picked last, right? And it's just so. It's never been lost on me. It's like I tell them at the hotel, stop calling me Mr. James. Can you just call me David? But I realize they're just so ingrained in that habit. I want to, you're not my servant, you're of service, right? But anyhow, okay.
Yeah. There's a chip on our shoulder. I mean, I can describe that too. I mean, it's something that I was picked on as well, and you kind of just prove everyone wrong. But I think more importantly, you prove yourself right, in certain ways. Like there's, like you said, there's a spirit that you just finally get aligned with. And it's just occurred.
That's amazing.
JD, Seraphine, thank you so much for the bequeathment.
Do you have any questions for us? You said you wanted to ask some questions, so I don't know if you...
Well, no, I think... I was trying to think if there's anything we didn't cover in terms of Raiinmaker. No, I mean, I think it's self-explanatory. People can go to the website. They can check it out on social. They can see that there's opportunities to get on there and promote.
I just want to be allowed to send the white paper out. I haven't been allowed to send that out yet. I just want to. So,
I know. Well, we're a little different like that. A little different.
No, I can understand. I mean, right now, have you copyrighted it, patented it? I mean, is there?
We're looking at doing
Right.
some stuff, even like around proof of influence. As being like
that's very.
Like
I mean, I would.
Huge.
Yeah, it's very keen of you.
Yeah,
I would.
We're working on it.
As your potential advisor, I would advise to keep doing that way. So
nice.
And I advise your advisor.
I like that.
Right.
So it comes full circle. So wait, are you going to advise him to make an NFT out of?
Listen, let's
Power
get rid of.
where do you think you got the idea?
Let's get rid of the rent seeker over here, okay? And let's just.
All right.
Okay, because he's all capitalist. We're all about humanity. So let's keep it A-list.
Hey, you know what?
A-list,
Capitalists, that they were all about humanity too, man.
All right, we're digressing. So basically, everybody, thank you for spending another Sunday with us here at Bit About Crypto. JD Seraphine, thank you so much for being our guest. You're coming back.
I'll come back, yeah, definitely.
To our engineer, Travis, thank you once again.
No, thank you.
Well, that's more like it. And of course, I can't do it without my co-host, Dave Hampton. Thank you much, Robert Recruiter.
Eternally grateful.
Yeah, I'm eternally grateful too. And I'm David James, the Job Whisperer. And remember, everybody, get whispered.